What if I told you that one of the most mysterious and precise prophecies in the Bible has already outlined the timeline for the end? A prophecy so accurate that it predicted key historical events with pinpoint precision, and now it may be revealing what's coming next. For over 2,500 years, scholars, theologians, and believers have studied the prophecy of the 70 weeks given to the prophet Daniel. This ancient revelation, found in Daniel 9 verses 24 to 27, has been the subject of endless debates. Some claim it has already been fulfilled, while others believe its final part is unfolding right before our eyes. But what does this prophecy really say? Are we standing at the brink of its final fulfillment? In this video, we're going to break down Daniel's prophecy in a way you've never seen before. By the end, you will have a crystal clear understanding of its meaning, its historical accuracy, and most importantly, what it reveals about our future. So stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover may change the way you see the world forever. Let's begin. What if I told you that one of the most mysterious and precise prophecies in the Bible has already outlined the timeline for the end? A prophecy so accurate that it predicted key historical events with pinpoint precision, and now it may be revealing what's coming next. For over 2,500 years, scholars, theologians, and believers have studied the prophecy of the 70 weeks given to the prophet Daniel. This ancient revelation, found in Daniel 9 verses 24 to 27, has been the subject of endless debates. Some claim it has already been fulfilled, while others believe its final part is unfolding right before our eyes. But what does this prophecy really say? Are we standing at the brink of its final fulfillment? In this video, we're going to break down Daniel's prophecy in a way you've never seen before. By the end, you will have a crystal clear understanding of its meaning, its historical accuracy, and most importantly, what it reveals about our future. So stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover may change the way you see the world forever. Let's begin. Agora revises introduco imi avis si carajus antes de pasarmos para o próximo capítulo. Who was Daniel? Rocket. Você diz. Prosiga. O ChatGPT diz. Ótimo. Agora vamos para o segundo capítulo. Who was Daniel? 130 to 345, the prophet and his time. To fully grasp the prophecy of the 70 weeks, we first need to understand who Daniel was and why his words carry such weight. Daniel was no ordinary man. He was a Hebrew captive in Babylon, taken during the conquest of Jerusalem by King Nebuchadnezzar in 605 BC. Despite being a foreigner and a slave, Daniel rose to unimaginable power in the greatest empire of his time. He served under multiple Babylonian and Persian kings, including Darius and Cyrus, and became a trusted advisor due to his wisdom and divine insight. But what set Daniel apart was not just his intelligence or leadership. It was his unwavering faith and his ability to interpret dreams and visions, gifts given to him by God himself. Through these visions, Daniel was shown extraordinary revelations about the future, including the rise and fall of empires, the coming of the Messiah, and events that many believe are unfolding today. One of the most mystifying of these prophecies is the prophecy of the 70 weeks, found in Daniel 9 verses 24 to 27. This revelation came at a critical moment in Daniel's life. After decades in exile, he was praying for the restoration of Jerusalem when the angel Gabriel appeared with a divine message, one that would foretell the course of history itself. Now let's dive into the prophecy itself. What exactly did Gabriel reveal to Daniel? And what does it mean for us today? The prophecy of the 70 weeks, found in Daniel 9 verses 24 to 27, is one of the most debated and mysterious revelations in the entire Bible. But what does it truly mean? Let's break it down step by step. 1. What are the 70 weeks? When we hear the word weeks, we naturally think of a period of 7 days. However, in biblical prophecy, a week often represents a group of 7 years. This is called a prophetic week. So 70 weeks doesn't mean 70 literal weeks, but rather 70 groups of 7 years, which totals 490 years. Gabriel's message to Daniel outlined God's divine timeline for Israel and the world. The prophecy was divided into 3 major periods: 7 weeks, 49 years, the rebuilding of Jerusalem; 62 weeks, 434 years, leading up to the arrival of the Messiah; 1 final week, 7 years, a period of tribulation and the end times. 2. The start of the 70 weeks. The countdown began when a decree was issued to rebuild Jerusalem. Historians and theologians link this event to a proclamation made by King Artaxerxes of Persia in 445 BC. From that moment, the prophetic clock started ticking. 3. The arrival of the Messiah. Gabriel's prophecy stated that after 69 weeks, 483 years, the Messiah would appear and then be cut off. If we calculate this time frame from 445 BC, it brings us to around 30 to 33 AD, precisely when Jesus Christ entered Jerusalem, was crucified, and resurrected. This accuracy is mind-blowing. The prophecy pinpointed the exact time of Jesus' coming, proving that Scripture is divinely inspired. 4. The final 70th week, the end times. Here's where things take an apocalyptic turn. The prophecy stops at the 69th week, leaving a final 7-year period unfulfilled. Many theologians believe this represents the tribulation, a time of global chaos, the rise of the Antichrist, and God's judgment before Christ's second coming. Some say we are now living in the gap between the 69th and 70th weeks, meaning the final 7 years could begin at any moment. But what exactly will happen during this last week? That's what we'll uncover in the next chapter, the final 7 years, a time of tribulation. The 70th week of Daniel is one of the most critical and terrifying periods in biblical prophecy. This final 7-year span is often linked to the Great Tribulation, a time of global upheaval, deception, and divine judgment. But what exactly will happen during these last years before Christ returns? 1. The covenant with many. Daniel 9 verse 27 states that a mysterious leader will arise and confirm a covenant with many for 1 week, 7 years. This leader is widely believed to be the Antichrist, a powerful political and spiritual figure who will deceive the world. At first, he will appear as a peacemaker, possibly brokering a treaty between nations, especially involving Israel. Many believe this covenant could bring temporary stability, but it will be a false peace. 2. The midpoint, the abomination of desolation. The peace won't last long. At the 3.5-year mark, 42 months, 1,260 days, something shocking will happen. The Antichrist will break the covenant. He will enter the rebuilt Jewish temple in Jerusalem. He will declare himself to be God and demand worship. This act is called the abomination of desolation, and Jesus himself warned about it in Matthew 24 verse 15, saying, "When you see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by the prophet Daniel, standing in the holy place, let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains." From this moment, pure chaos erupts. 3. The Great Tribulation, the world in crisis. After the Antichrist reveals his true nature, the second half of the 7-year period begins, known as the Great Tribulation. This will be a time of persecution of Christians and Jews, mass deception and false prophets, economic collapse and global control, the rise of a totalitarian system, often associated with the mark of the beast, catastrophic disasters, plagues, and divine judgments. During this time, God's wrath will be poured out, as described in Revelation 7 seals, trumpets, and bowls of judgment. The world will experience wars, famine, disease, and supernatural events unlike anything before. But is there hope? What happens next? That's what we'll explore in the next chapter, the second coming and the end of the age. As the world descends into chaos during the Great Tribulation, many will wonder, is there any hope left? The answer is yes. The prophetic timeline does not end in destruction. It culminates in the most glorious event in history, the second coming of Jesus Christ. 1. The signs in the heavens. Before Christ's return, supernatural signs will shake the earth and sky. Matthew 24 verses 29 to 30 describes this moment vividly. The sun will be darkened. The moon will not give its light. Stars will fall from the sky. The heavens will be shaken. Then something extraordinary happens. The sign of the Son of Man appears in the sky. Every nation, every ruler, every unbeliever will suddenly realize the truth. Jesus Christ is returning as King. 2. The final battle, Armageddon. Revelation 19 describes Jesus coming on a white horse, leading the armies of heaven. At the same time, the world's forces, led by the Antichrist and his allies, will gather in the valley of Megiddo for what is known as the Battle of Armageddon. This is the final confrontation between good and evil. But unlike human battles, this one will end instantly. As soon as Christ speaks his word of power, the enemy will be defeated completely. 3. The fate of the Antichrist and Satan. The Antichrist and the false prophet will be thrown alive into the lake of fire. Revelation 19 verse 20. Satan will be bound for 1,000 years, preventing him from deceiving the nations. Revelation 20 verse 2. This marks the end of human rebellion and the beginning of Christ's righteous rule. For the millennial kingdom, a new era begins. With the forces of evil defeated, Jesus will establish his kingdom on earth for 1,000 years. This will be a time of peace, righteousness, and restoration, fulfilling countless Old Testament prophecies. But after the 1,000 years, something shocking happens. Satan is released one final time. What happens next? That's a story for another time. Final thoughts. Are we living in the last days? Many believe that we are now witnessing the birth pains that Jesus described in Matthew 24, a world in turmoil, moral decay, and increasing deception. Could we be closer to Daniel's 70th week than we think? No one knows the exact day or hour of Christ's return, Matthew 24 verse 36. But one thing is certain, now is the time to be spiritually prepared. Are you ready?